Hello, welcome to today's home practice. Today I'm going to show you a pose that we can use to target the legs. So we're talking here the inner legs, the inner thighs, the groin, also the outer hip and the spine. So there's a few different target areas for this pose. It also goes by a few different names. So the Sanskrit version of this pose, or Sanskrit name for this pose, is Baddha Konasana, and it can also be referred to as bound angle, cobbler's pose, or butterfly pose. So I'm going to give you two versions, or I'm going to show you two versions of this pose. So the first one is going to be seated, and in the second one I'm going to take this supine. So I'm going to be lying back on my back. I'm going to use some props for that as well, really prop up my body so I can make this nice and restorative, nice and restful. And that version of the pose is a really nice one to include in your evening yoga routine. It's a lovely way for you to just drop down, let your day go, and allow your body just to surrender into the shape and connect back with yourself. So I'm going to make my way onto my mat behind me and I'll get started. Okay, so I'm sitting on my mat cross-legged. Now already, if this feels like it's a bit uncomfortable, if I feel like there is a lot of gripping here to the front of my hips, it might be because my pelvis is tilting a little bit backwards. So if that's the case, it's going to make it a little bit more challenging for me when it comes to folding forward in that pose. So all I'm going to do to help with that is just grab a blanket that I have folded over a few times, and I'm just going to put that underneath my seat. So I'm going to sit myself up on top of my blanket, and as I said, that's going to help when it comes to folding forward in this pose. So to find the shape of our pose, I'm going to bring my legs out in front of me. The soles of my feet are going to come together, and I'm going to allow my knees to drop out towards the side. So as I said, the target area for this pose is the inner legs, the inner thighs, and into the groin. Okay, so I can choose to draw my feet quite close towards my groin, or I can choose to slide them a little bit further away. So you can try one and then try the other and see where you're feeling the best level of sensation in the pose. So always looking for that mild to moderate sensation along the inner thighs and into the groins, the outer hips. Okay. Now, because of the position of my hips in this pose, my knees could be a little bit vulnerable. So I don't want to ever tolerate any kind of discomfort or pain in my knees. So if that's the case, if you're feeling any discomfort in the knees, I have two options for you to try. The first option is to slide your feet further away from you and see how that feels, see if that lessens any kind of discomfort. The second option that you could try is to actually prop your legs. So if you have yoga blocks, you could grab those. I don't have them at the moment. I've just grabbed cushions off my couch, so I'm going to use those. So I'm going to draw them a bit closer to me, to the outsides of my legs, and I'm going to prop my legs. So what this will do is actually lessen that rotation into your hips, and that could help with any kind of discomfort that you're feeling in your knees. Now, I don't feel any discomfort or pain in my knees, so I don't need my cushions. I'm going to move them off to the side again, and I'm going to draw my feet a little bit closer towards my hips. And then from here, all I'm going to do is simply fold forward. So I'm going to walk my hands out in front of me. And because I have no kind of back issues, I can allow my back to round, and I might even allow my head to drop down. I could close my eyes and then just tune into the sensations that I'm feeling. So again, always looking for that mild to moderate sensation. As long as you're feeling that, you're doing it. Allowing the breath to come in and out through your nose, and just simply dropping in and feeling everything that you're feeling in your body. And when I'm ready to come out of this pose, then I'll just walk my hands nice and slowly back towards my hips. I bring my hands to the outsides of my legs, draw my knees nice and slowly back to center. And I'm going to take a counter pose for this, and I'm going to take a windshield wiper. So I'll bring my feet about hip distance apart, bring my arms behind me, and all I'm going to do is simply just drop my knees down to one side. Bring them back to center, and then drop them to the other side. And this movement of our hips, or movement of the legs, can feel really good as a counter pose for our Baddha Konasana. And I might even choose, if one side feels good, I might choose to hang out there for a few breaths, pause, and then move on to the other side when I'm ready. Okay, so for option 2 or for version 2 of this pose, I'm going to take it on my back. So I've grabbed more props. So I've actually got 4 cushions here for me. I've got 2 cushions on my mat and I've got 2 on either side within arm's reach of me. Now you can also use a yoga bolster if you have a yoga bolster, but I know not everyone will have that at home. So cushions will work just as fine as well, or even pillows. If you've got some nice firm pillows as well, they'll work perfectly fine. So grab whatever props that you're using. I'm going to make my way onto my back. So one of my cushions is going to come behind my back and the other one is going to support my head. And then, as I said, I've got 2 more cushions here within arm's reach that are going to support my legs. So we're going to make this nice and restorative for ourselves. Okay, so I'm going to slowly lower myself all the way onto my back. So one of the cushions is supporting my back and my chest, and the other one is supporting my head. And then I'm going to bring the soles of my feet together just like we did in the seated version. So soles of the feet together, knees wide apart. And again, just like we did in the seated version, I can choose to draw my feet close in towards my groin, or I can slide them further away from me. So finding what feels best for me and then just settling in. And because we're going to make this nice and restorative, I'm going to grab my cushions and I'm going to bring those to the outsides of my legs, and I'm going to prop my legs here. So this is going to take a little bit of the sensation out of my legs, but it's also going to make it nice and restful, and that feels so good. Okay, so for my arms, I've got a few different positions that I like for my arms. So the first one is to bring my arms down by my side with my palms facing up towards the sky. That can feel really nice just to surrender down into the shape. You feel a nice kind of opening across my chest here. Second option that I sometimes like to take with my arms is to bring my arms overhead. So bring my arms overhead, maybe even rest one palm into another. And here I'll feel a nice sensation here to the undersides of the inner arms here, and that sometimes feels really, really good for me. And then the third option that I sometimes like to take for my arms can be one that I find really useful to actually kind of tune in, to connect in, to ground myself back in. So this can be really good if you want to really unwind from your day and just settle in, connect back with yourself. So I'll bring one hand to my belly, one hand to my chest, allow my eyes to close down and just drop right down. And because my hands are connected here to my body, I can tune into my breath and to the movement of my chest and my belly up and down as my breath comes in and out on my inhale and my exhale. Staying here for however long I want. And when I'm ready to come out of this pose, just like I did in the seated version, I'll bring my hands down to my legs, gently draw my knees in towards the center. And then all I'll do is roll myself off my props. So whatever props I'm using, I'm just going to simply roll myself all the way onto the side, make a pillow with my hands, and just rest in a fetal position here for a few breaths. Thank you for joining me for today's home practice. I hope that you enjoy that one. As always, if you have any kind of questions whatsoever, feel free to get in touch with me. I hope that you have a great rest of your day, and I will speak with you soon.